What do you do when the very air you breathe threatens to kill you? How do you protect yourself? Where do you run? How do you save yourself and the ones you love? 1984's Bhopal Gas Tragedy is considered the world's largest industrial disaster, with a reported death toll of over 15,000 people. Different sources offer different estimates of how many lives were lost. But the fact remains that it's truly staggering to process the extent of the horror and after effects of the gas leak at the Bhopal factory of the American chemical company Union Carbide. There are many ways of coming at this atrocity and telling this story. The injustice, the corporate greed, negligence and indifference, the generations of trauma. Over 4 episodes, Netflix's The Railwaymen, the first streaming series from Yash Raj Films, chooses to focus specifically on the unsung heroes of the Indian Railways who risked their lives to evacuate hundreds.
लेने वालों को सजा देते हैं और न जान बचाने वालों को शाबाशी.
There's the dutiful, diligent station master of Bhopal Junction Station, Iftikhar Siddiqui, played by an unwavering Kay Menon. There's the young Imad Riaz, an ex-Union Carbide employee who now works for the railways, played by an achingly sincere Babil Khan. A playful Divyenndu is the express bandit, a thief who must find his humanity amidst the chaos and put others before himself. There's a well-cast Sunny Hinduja as Kumawat, a journalist working tirelessly to investigate Union Carbide's inhuman working conditions. There's Rati Pandey, played by a commanding R. Madhavan, a railway official in the nearby town who rallies his colleagues to send aid to the people of Bhopal. The series from writer Ayush Gupta and debut director Shiv Ravel serves up a well-crafted gut punch of a pilot episode that throws us headfirst into the injustice, as it opens with powerful frenetic montages of real-life footage intercut with dramatic recreations of key events in the aftermath of the tragedy. The well-structured episode introduces us to the characters, builds the tension of a ticking clock as it counts down to the hours leading to the gas leak, whilst also shedding light on the heartless indifference of senior officials of Union Carbide, a company that you'll come to hate after this if you don't already. But the beating heart of this opening chapter is an excellent Divyenndu Bhattacharya who singularly uplifts the material as Kamruddin, the factory manager who tries to save as many of his workers as he can. The look of dread, despair and hopelessness on Dibyendu's face when it dawns on him that the toxic MIC gas is leaking into the air is seared into my subconscious. But after this point, things get more scattered and uneven. While the narrative continues to focus on the people of Bhopal through the station master, Imad, and the express bandits' panicked scramble to organize and save people at the train station, the makers also stuff in a bunch of other arcs and subplots which yank us out of the narrative and the headspace of being in Bhopal alongside its people amidst the suffering and suffocation. For one, there's an extensive track about the Gorakhpur Express which is hours away from arriving in Bhopal Junction Station. The passengers and train staff have no idea that they're quite literally speeding towards a death trap, and the communications at the station are down. In a pre-cell phone era, people outside of Bhopal don't even know what's happening there. The stakes, tension and drama literally couldn't be any higher. But for some reason, this isn't enough for the makers of this show. So the Gorakhpur Express has its own little thriller unfolding on board as a Sikh passenger played by Mandira Bedi is being hunted by an angry mob of fundamentalists out for blood, leaving it for the TC played by Raghubir Yadav to save her from the armed horde. While it's admittedly fun to watch Raghubir in a hero role which requires him to outwit and physically fight a bunch of bad guys, the entire plot thread belongs in a different show. Meanwhile, in Delhi, the wonderful Juhi Chawla plays a senior minister trying to push her inefficient, indifferent colleagues to give a shit and send aid to Bhopal. It's a well-intentioned but ineffective and unnecessary arc that once again saps the narrative of its urgency, as does the awkwardly staged parallel track of a German scientist trying to get an antidote to Bhopal. You've put us in a place, made us feel for its people, had us witness the horrors of what's happening to them, and then you frequently take us out of it to focus on dull drama and characters elsewhere. The result is an uneven show that does well to muster tension and emotion but struggles to sustain them. It's also clear that the makers don't quite understand the DNA of structuring a series. This feels like an attempt to reverse engineer one. There's more to long-form storytelling than ending on cliffhangers, forcing in subplots and splitting a story into chapters. The irony being, YRF's first series feels more of a movie that's merely been extended to ape a series. Instead, The Railwaymen, about the heroes of the Bhopal gas tragedy, is at its most potent when it focuses on the actual Bhopal gas tragedy, when it's concentrated and constrained to a specific location and time. It made me think of Bhopal Express, the 1999 movie which also starred Kay Menon in one of his first major roles. That film, which you can watch on YouTube, was far more effective at making us feel for people in the form of a newly married couple and an endlessly endearing rickshawala played by Nasiruddin Shah, and then having us witness the unspeakable ordeal they experience. It also helped that Bhopal Express was shot in real locations, whereas after a point in The Railwayman, I started to become acutely aware of all the sets and artifice. While YRF awards this story the scale it deserves, the series is missing the grime, rawness and texture of the very reality it's trying to recreate. You're very aware that you're not witnessing a historic calamity, but a dramatic reenactment of one. Equally, there's an art to crafting chaos, claustrophobia and immersing us in the suffocation that's lacking here. Think of some of the work of Anurag Kashyap, Rishi Mehta, or what Prashant Nair did earlier this year with Trial by Fire, or what Ram Madhvani did in Neerja. And then there's the question of capturing heroism, the very thing this series is looking to celebrate. True heroism isn't announced or pronounced through words and lengthy backstories, but earned with action. But The Railwayman wants to be unsubtle about its heroism. The scene that really threw me off this train comes in the third episode, where R. Madhavan's Rati Pandey gives a rousing, overly designed speech to a group of railway workers to convince them to join him to help those suffering in Bhopal. It's earnestly performed, but it's the kind of underlined monologue moment that you'd find in an Akshay Kumar film. The Railwayman is then two series at odds with each other. One a more grounded tale of humanity and selflessness, and the other a more insecure, exaggerated tale of heroes. It's why Kay Menon's Station Master, and in particular Babil Khan's Imad Riaz, are the strongest characters here, because they're not overwritten. These are men of action, not words, men who care about people, and that's enough. There's a fleeting scene in the last episode featuring a police officer driving around Bhopal amidst the chaos, trying to stay alive and trying to save who he can. What was his night like? What did he go through? Who did he save? I was far more interested in his story than I was in many of the major characters here. What happened in Bhopal and what its people had to endure was horrible. And we deserve meaningful stories about it to make us understand, acknowledge, gain perspective, remember and empathize with the atrocity. And I'm not sure this series makes the cut. I just wish The Railwayman understood that this tragedy and the acts of bravery it inspired require no embellishment. They're powerful enough as they are. You can watch The Railwayman on Netflix.